Hello, and welcome to the Outdoorsy Diva podcast. I'm your host, Lauren, the Outdoorsy Diva. Thanks for joining. We have a really awesome guest with us today, Mia Parnell. Mia is the creator and founder of the blog miaadventura.com, and she is going to join us today to share all of her awesomeness, talk about her travels, and also in commemorating that this month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we are going to celebrate Mia and her survivorship. So go ahead and introduce yourself to the listeners, Mia.
Sure. Thank you for having me. My name is Mia Ransom Parnell. I am delighted to be here, and I would just like to say that this October I celebrate my 22nd cancerversary. Woohoo!
Awesome. That is awesome. And what a great way to commemorate that by doing your very first podcast interview.
I know. I decided a few years ago, actually, I was led a few years ago to start celebrating my cancerversary by doing something. And so I decided to go someplace new and do something that I did not think I'd live to do. So I thank you for allowing me to do this podcast.
Wonderful. So tell the listeners a little bit more about Mia Adventura, what you share about on your blog and kind of how you got started.
Sure. So I was a mom, of course, for a long time, and I call my adult children my former roommates because they no longer live with me. Yay! And once the youngest one was going off to college, I was kind of at a loss. When I was diagnosed with breast cancer and my children were young, they were, I want to say like 5 and 3. And I was young also. I'm not going to tell you how young I was, but I was young. And it was terrifying to me that I would die before I saw them grow up. And they were really the reason that I'm still alive today, because I just absolutely refused to die until I knew that they were going to be adult and independent. And once it happened, I was like, well, okay, I can die now. It's all right. But then I didn't die. And then I needed to think about what could be the purpose of my life, and could I really start doing some of the things that I dreamed of doing but didn't think I'd get a chance to do. So I decided to take my first dream trip to Paris, and my family, they were terrified that something was going to happen because I went by myself. And I kind of started the blog just to show them that I was okay, I was having a good time, but also to encourage other women who are in whatever kind of transitory stage of their life, but particularly you finally gotten everybody out of your house and it's your turn, that you need to go out and seek the world, because the world is waiting for you. And also the world particularly needs to see Black women in it.
Absolutely. And I too am a new empty nester. Well, sort of, kind of.
I know.
He left for a year and he came back like a boomerang. But it's
Lauren.
okay. It's okay.
Okay.
He's my 1-year-old adult is what I call it.
And that is beautiful.
I feel like he's an adult, but he still has more learning and growing to do. And I actually am proud of him that he made the decision that he needed to come back home and reset. He has no intention of staying here forever. If it's up to him, he'll be gone again by next spring. But I do kind of enjoy having my adventure buddy back. I can't lie, but
okay, I can understand that.
What you say is absolutely true. I went through something very similar because we went through this whole big push of like getting him recruited in football and graduation and all these other things. And I was just 100% focused on him. And I was a young mom as well. So I never experienced adulthood without being a mother. So for me, it was, oh, wow, I get to make decisions for me. I get to be selfish. Like, I don't even know who Lauren is without mom attached to it, because that's all I knew in my independence was being somebody's mother. So I
Yes.
was more than happy to spread my wings even more. And as you know, being a mom never didn't stop me from going and seeing some stuff. But having that freedom, I could be way more intentional. And I actually planned my empty nester trip was to Sedona, Arizona. And it was
Oh, excellent.
amazing and spiritual, and everybody should go. So I love what you're doing, and I love your message to women and others out there, and helping them to see more of us, more Black women in these
Yes.
spaces.
Yes. And we can't travel in fear. We can't live in fear. Fear cannot be a part of what we do. It just can't. So whatever it is, whatever that thing is that you want to do, then let's find a way to help you do it.
Absolutely. So now let me ask you, regarding your diagnosis,
Hmm.
do you have any limitations, or do you have to travel differently because you are a cancer survivor?
So I don't think of myself as having limitations. What I think of is that I have issues that I have to acknowledge. So one of the main issue that I have is lymphedema, which is swelling in my left arm because of my mastectomy. So I have to be careful that the arm doesn't get injured. That's really important. So I try not to ever sit on the right side aisle of the plane just in case some suitcase falls out. I do not want it hitting my left side. So I'm always aware of that. And sometimes the pressure difference or the changes in the airplane will affect my lymphedema. And also heat affects my lymphedema. So one thing I never do is to travel in the summer. I cannot tolerate the heat. It is not good for my spirit. It is not good for my health. Is especially not good for my arm. And the way that I address that is by wearing a compression sleeve and a compression glove when I travel. And I keep those with me just in case I need them. That's really the only issue that I have, like post breast cancer treatment.
Okay. And that's really interesting. So you absolutely have to be like, that's one thing you need control over, is like where you will sit when you fly.
Yes, because I don't want to use the term nervous, but I am a little nervous because you've seen people, especially, those people when the plane lands, as it is landing, as soon as the seatbelt sign goes off, they jump up and they're opening the bins and they're not paying attention and things have shifted. And
Hmm.
I've seen things kind of tumble out and I can't, you know, that person who opens and something falls and hits me, they don't want to be responsible for my pain and my agony, but they're going to be responsible. And so I think, so that the TSA people don't come on board looking for me and I don't get arrested, that the
Right.
best thing for me to do is to be aware of where I'm sitting so that that's never an issue.
Gotcha. So now, does that mean Southwest is out for you?
Well, I have, I think, good Southwest seat karma. And I do. I don't mind sitting in the middle. I don't mind being the meat in the sandwich or the tofu. That's okay. I never sit on the right side on the aisle seat. I just don't ever get that seat. So I just feel like when I am traveling, especially Southwest, that I put my good intentions out there, that I want to sit next to someone who is like a non-smoker, isn't eating stinky food, not sit next to a screaming kid, and someone who's interesting and has something to share with me. And that almost always happens.
I love that. So you put out your good intentions before your flight. Maybe I should
I
try
do.
that.
I do. I do. I've only had one time where that completely went awry, and that was okay because I asked the stewardess for help, and she totally handled it. So I was like, well, it still worked out in my benefit, so it's all good.
So now, how would you describe your travel style? Like, are you budget, solo? Are you luxury? What's your travel style, and what do you like to do when you travel?
Sure. So I consider myself budget. Um, I have a former roommate who lives out of the country who I'm still kind of mothering a little bit. And I also parent my 85-year-old mom on the other side of town. And, they take up some of my resources. So I consider myself a budget solo traveler because, like when you have kids, they are first. They are always first. Where do we want to eat? You don't really mean you. You're saying, where do you want to eat? Where are we going for vacation? What are we going to do? It's always led by them. And when I could remove them from those decisions, it was exciting and enlightening. And so my preference is solo travel because I get to set my agenda. I get to get up when I want to. I get to eat when I want to. I get to sit when I want to. I get to go to bed when I want to. And so I'm like a solo budget traveler. But I also, like you, I love an adventure. And I'm the type of person, I'm a runner. And because I live in Alabama, I get up at 4 a.m. to go running to beat the heat. And I've been doing it for so long that I automatically get up at 4 a.m. no matter where I am. And so when I get up at 4, I'm just ready to seize the day. And I want to almost cram everything I absolutely can into that day because I want to see it all. I want to do it all. I want to eat it all. And I want to experience it all. So I always try to map some kind of running area depending on where I'm staying. I think the most unusual thing that happened to me is I was in Ireland and I got up at 4 a.m. like I know because I get up at 4, right? I've been doing it for so long. So I get up at 4 and I'm standing in this great hostel and I put on my running clothes and I walk out and it's dead quiet. And so there's a person at the front desk and he looks at me and he says, well, hey. And I said, hey, how are you doing? And he says, I'm fine. What are you doing? And I said, oh man, I'm getting ready to go running. Isn't it great? He said, it's 4:30 a.m. Why are you going running? And I said, well, I'm from Alabama and it's hot in Alabama, early in the morning. And so I'm used to getting up and I'm going to go running. And I think it's going to be great. And he says, darling, this is Ireland. Nobody runs at 4:30 in the morning. Go back to bed. And I was like, oh, but if I go back to bed, I won't be able to go to sleep and maybe I'm going to sleep through my alarm. And I went to the room and I sat down and I crashed, not even realizing it. And I woke up about an hour later and I was feeling a little bit of a panic. It was still dark outside, which makes sense to me because I run when it's dark. And so I got up and I walked outside again and he was there and he said, okay, so you really want to do this early morning running, right? And I was like, okay, it's 5:30 now. You think it's okay? And he said, sure. But darling, nobody in Ireland runs this early in the morning. And I said, you know what? It's going to be okay. So I take off in the dark and there's nobody outside. There are no cars. There, nobody getting ready. There are no lights on in houses or anything. And I run through this little village and I'm coming around a corner. I hear some noise and it is the people who replaced the beer things. So they're like rolling out the ones that are used and rolling in the new ones. And they're all looking at me like, what
are you doing?
is she doing? Why is she out here this early in the morning? And I'm just like, I'm from Alabama. I'm like, hey, how y'all doing? Good morning. And they're just looking at me like, what is wrong with her? And so I just keep on going. And it was exhilarating and invigorating. And it was just marvelous. And I ended up running alongside this canal and I got to a place where there weren't any street lights. Like the next light was like 2 blocks away. But, I've got my running lights on and everything. And it started to get kind of creepy. And then I hear this strange sound. I could not identify it. And I kind of stopped and I listened. And I was like, maybe I'm just hearing things, right? And it was October. I want to point that out also. And so I'm starting to run along and I hear it again. And I look around, it's like, there's nobody here. There's nothing. I'm just going to keep going. And then it gets louder and more frequent. And so I finally just stop and I'm thinking, what is that? And so I start kind of following the sound and it ends up being a crane in the water. And I guess it heard me running and it was looking at me like the same way, like, don't you know what time it is? What are you doing out here? And I was like, oh, crane, I'm just out here having a good time, celebrating my cancerversary. I've got like a mile and a half to go. And then I get ready to go back to my hospital and take a shower and get dressed. So I'm up early, I'm seizing the day, I'm having some kind of experience that I wouldn't have had that experience if I had slept in to 6 o'clock or something like that, so those are the things that I look forward to when I'm traveling, something new, something unusual. And again, I set my intention that I want to have an adventure when I travel, and I always do.
I love it. And I love how 6:30 a.m. is sleeping in. That's hilarious. But you know what's funny? And I am not a morning person, like, at all. I loathe the
At
morning
all.
most times, but I love sunrises and I love
Oh,
sunsets. And so
yes.
wherever I am in the world, I get up for the sunrise. I don't know how, but I get up and I'm not in a bad mood. Like, I'm so happy. When I was in Yellowstone, I actually got up in time to watch the full moon set on one
Oh,
side,
wow.
and then the sun was
The
rising
sunrise.
on the other side, and it was just like your mind couldn't even compute what you were looking at because it
Mm-hmm.
was like, this is really happening all at the same time. So yes, early mornings are totally worth it when you travel. Now I know that you like Black history. How
Yes.
do you tie that into your travels?
So, of course, I'm from Birmingham, which is the seat of civil rights. And the elementary school that I attended, my class was the third class to desegregate that school. And so I have a long history of experience with, I don't want to say the negative, the difficulties of Black history. Um, our history is what it is. And what I needed to know is, what does Black history look like in other areas? Now, I know what it looks like in Birmingham. It's tough. I know really what it looks like in the South. It's really, really difficult. But an experience that I had in Colorado last year for my cancerversary was I went to the Black American West Museum. And it was a museum teaching you about the Black cowboys. So you think
Oh,
about all of the Westerns you've ever seen on television. Like, how often do you see a Black cowboy?
never.
Absolutely never. So as I was researching what to do when I went to Colorado, I always look for Black history museums and also Black restaurants. I want to support our community and circulate our money into our community. And so when I came across this museum, I was like, what? Black American West Museum? What is this about? I have just got to go there. And the docent there was absolutely wonderful. And she really taught me about history. And there was an opportunity when America was opening the West that, surprisingly, America actually offered opportunities to people of color and gave them money to settle in the West. So, being from the South, I think that every Black person I meet is really from the South, right? You meet someone from Chicago and you're like, okay, was it your grandma who came from the South? Like, who came from the South? And so, but instead I meet these Coloradans who they have been in Colorado for so long that they don't have any connection to the South whatsoever. And I found that to be fascinating because their experience in Black history was completely different from mine. They experience, of course, racism. This is America after all, but they experience opportunities that Southern Blacks did not have.
Wow.
And I was fascinated by that because they had an opportunity to move west with everyone else instead of, certain demographics go first, and then if there's any leavings or leftovers, then we get to have that. It was actually an equal opportunity for everyone. And I thought it was beautiful.
Now, is that on information on your blog about that trip?
It is not. Last year, so the super crazy thing I did last year to celebrate my cancerversary was I decided to run 5 Susan G. Komens back to back. And I will tell you, in hindsight, maybe that wasn't such a great idea because I was going nonstop from the end of September through the end of October. And I had my New Orleans Komen. I got off work at 6:30. I could not rearrange it. I got off work at 6:30 p.m. in Birmingham. I drove 6.5 hours to New Orleans. I slept for like 3 hours. Then I had to get up, go pick up my packet, and run the Komen. And I had several weekends that way. And so I ended up getting a little ill because my doctor said, what have you been doing over this last month? Because you are like exhausted. And I said, yeah, I'm really tired. But let me tell you about all these great things I did. So I am actually revamping my site and adding all of that to it, all of the things that I did last year, and even the things that I'm doing this year. My celebration this year, I wanted it to happen in October, but I packed my October too much, Lauren. So I'm going to have to take a day because I only have one day next month because November ended up being a little busy also. And I'm taking just one day to celebrate my cancerversary, like officially. And it's something that has surprised even me that I'm going to do. So I can't tell you about it yet, but I'm really excited about it.
Or do we get a sneak peek?
I'm going to say choo choo, and I'm not going to say anything else.
Okay, I think I know what it is, but I'll be quiet. I'll have to ask you when we turn the recorder off. It'll be
okay. I'll tell you our little secret.
But I do understand about committing yourself and spreading yourself way too thin. It's something that we're all guilty of. But I'm sure when you do come back with your revamped site and your news stories, it'll be awesome. And I can't wait to read it. So now, how do you think travel has changed you?
So when I was a little girl, little black girl from Alabama, my dream was to go to Paris. I don't know why, other than I heard Ella Fitzgerald sing April in Paris. My grandmother loved Ella Fitzgerald, and she used to play that song all of the time. And I used to think, I want to go to April. I want to go to Paris in April one day. But it just seemed completely out of the question. I didn't know any Black people who traveled. I didn't know any Black people who went on vacation other than like Six Flags or maybe Orlando. I didn't know anybody who went skiing or who went to New York City. I never saw any of that. But my former roommate grew up in a time where that was possible and you could see that. And I encouraged that because, again, the world needs to see us out there. That we're not all rappers and sports people. We're just like regular old people, just like everyone else, who have a desire to do something and they are making it happen. So as the former roommates kept growing up and I kept living, I really started to think that maybe I could go to Paris. Like, could I really go to Paris by myself and experience April in Paris? And my youngest former roommate was doing a study abroad in London, and I asked if I could come and visit. And they said, well, I have to check with my roommates and see if it's okay, and I'll get back with you. Now, I just want to say, I was not expecting that. I was like, I am your mama. I gave birth to you. I am paying for you to be in London. What do you mean you have to check with some roommates? Why can't I just come and crash on your sofa?
Right.
But they're like, no, that cannot happen. We have to do this correct. That was probably my first lesson into my former roommates are becoming adults, and I'm going to have to rethink this whole mothering parenting thing. So they came back to me and they said, yes, we'll let you come with the following stipulations. We are homesick for all of the food, at home that we can't get in London. So we want to send you a list of stuff to bring. And if you bring that stuff, you can come and stay with us. And I said,
Wow.
I said, I appreciate that. I said, I think that's completely fair. So I bought popcorn, microwave popcorn, those toaster strudel things. It was just like candy, gums, all of these kind of American foods that they weren't ever able to get in London. And so once I had permission to come, then I decided that here was my opportunity to go to Paris, because I decided to go to Paris first, and have my time there alone, experiencing Paris in every way I possibly could. My absolute dream trip was actually going to happen. And then to go to London and to see my former roommate and actually meet their roommates and do that. And Paris was everything I thought it would be, and absolutely different. Because of course it was different. It had been decades since I had thought about going to Paris, and this was modern day Paris. But when I stood in front of the Mona Lisa and really knew that I was there, and I could see with my own eyes that mysterious smile that I had seen in books and in movies and on television for forever, it was one of the most amazing things that ever happened to me, because I started really believing that there wasn't anything I could not do. If I could survive breast cancer and live, not just survive, but to live, and then to make this first dream come true, this first travel dream come true. I didn't want a big house. I didn't want a big car. I didn't want a diamond ring. I didn't want any of those things. What I wanted to do was to go somewhere. Then I started really to believe that, there wasn't anything I couldn't do.
I love
Paris
it.
was just the beginning.
And I love that, it took something as familiar as the Mona Lisa. And I'll say one thing a trend that I hope to see die away soon in kind of this
Mm-hmm.
upsurge of the Black travel community is the elitism part. Like, I can't stand it. And so you'll hear people say things like, oh, the Mona Lisa, it's small and it's not worth your time and blah, blah, blah. But they don't understand like what seeing things like that mean to someone who
Right.
really grew up not thinking that this was an option. I felt the same way when I saw the Rosetta Stone at the British Museum,
Mm-hmm.
because,
Mm-hmm.
me being the nerd that I am, I'm always fascinated by artifacts and that kind of history. And I didn't even know it was there. And so it was like I walked past it and I was like, why are these people crowded around this rock? And I read the thing, because I'm tall, so I can see over everybody. And it was like the Rosetta Stone. And I was like, wait, like the
The
Rosetta Stone?
Rosetta Stone.
I
Mm-hmm.
was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this is amazing. Like, it just makes it more real. So I 100% appreciate how you felt. And I'm so proud of you for, getting out there and doing it. So since Paris, like, where are some of your other favorite destinations?
Okay, so of course I went to Ireland. I went to the countryside of Ireland, Killarney, and I see that I read your blog that you're thinking about going to Killarney. I highly recommend it. Don't go running at 6:30 in the morning or 4:30. Wait until later. You can do that. I'd love to go back there and do the Ring of Kerry. That is high on my list of places to go. Last year when I went to Denver, and I saw the mountain range. So we don't have that in Alabama. We've got mountains, but I'd never seen anything so huge, tremendous, and awe-inspiring before. And I scheduled a day to go hiking. It really was just a morning because I was going to go on a tour. I had like 3 hours to hike, quick hike in, quick hike out. And then I had a tour schedule and I got into it and I sent the people a message and just said, I'm going to have to push this back a couple more hours because I cannot leave the mountain. I felt enveloped with love. That's the only way I can really describe it. I got out there and, the air is thinner, but it's clear and it's crisp and it smells. It has this just aroma of like health and goodness. And the wind blows through the trees and it's almost like they're singing to you and encouraging you to continue to explore. And I wish I had spent more time hiking in Denver, but I didn't know. And so I would love to go back to Denver and not do anything except like take a week to go hiking and like not really, really get lost because I want to be found, but like to lose myself in how that is to lose yourself in the hiking and the experience. So Denver was absolutely wonderful. And the other place that I totally love, that I fall in love with every time I go, is actually New Orleans. Last year, New Orleans was one of the places, that I went to for my Komen race. And I had the best time in New Orleans at the Komen race because it was a total party. It was like party before the race, party during the race, party after the race. The people that I met there were so welcoming and accommodating. I was there by myself, as usual. I didn't go with anyone. And there were women and families who said, well, hey, who are you? Where are you from? You're from Birmingham? Oh, we're going to be barbecuing right after the race is over. Why don't you come to our tent? We're going to have the big orange tent, or we got the big yellow tent, or we've got the purple and gold tent. And so I received all these invitations from people that I didn't even know who welcomed me to be a part of what they were doing because it's like that's the New Orleans thing. And so I said, okay, New Orleans, you're so awesome. If I am alive, every year that I'm alive and I am in America, I am coming back to New Orleans to do your Komen. So tomorrow, I am going to New Orleans for the weekend to run the Komen on Saturday.
Wow.
It was so much fun. And so New Orleans gave me such a spirit of happiness. It was just fun, just so much fun. So yeah, definitely New Orleans. And it's a good time for me to go to New Orleans because it's in October, because I will not go to New Orleans in the summertime because it is too hot.
Right. Now, I have to go back to what you said about being outdoors and how it was like the trees were singing to you. I love that metaphor. I'm gonna have to use that, Mia. Uh, I, I,
Take it.
l- I love it, and I'm so glad that you discovered that. I'm so glad you discovered that experience. Like that's why I do what I do. Like that's what I want everybody to feel, like how that feels,
Hmm.
how like you said, how awe-inspiring and the calm, and it's hard to even verbalize it, but it's just like
It is.
go do it, feel it. And I will tell you, yes, Denver was, I'm sure was amazing. I actually haven't been there yet, but I felt the same thing about the mountains that I saw in Wyoming and Montana. But
Hmm.
you can get that nature fix in all the time. Funny enough, the first place that I fell in love with like nature and hiking and waterfalls was Northern
Mhm.
Alabama.
Where in northern Alabama?
Northern Alabama. So we went to Little River Falls.
Yes,
There's a
yes,
DeSoto Falls. There's
yes,
a
yes.
Nakalula Falls. We did like a
Right.
whole falls run. And my best friend and I, we were fresh out of college. Um, and this is when you printed off your maps. And we just decided we wanted to go see waterfalls. They all had good flow the time of year that we happened to go. And we hiked like down to the falls, and some of them let us go behind the falls, and it was
Mhm.
amazing. And we were like,
Mhm.
oh, we can, like, this is awesome. Let's do more of this. So, you can get that fix in anywhere.
So, okay, I'm going to tell you, Laura, I'm afraid of ticks, like
Mm.
terrified of ticks. And we have like high tick season in Alabama. So, what do you do about that? I mean, do you wear like beat or something like that? I mean, how do you
Yep.
protect yourself? Okay,
Beat.
all
I
right,
wear
now I know
beat.
what to do.
And I actually wear sleeves a lot of times. I
Hmm.
started to try to not look like a hobo when I hike and actually invest in some decent outdoor attire. So this is not a sponsorship, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. This is my honest opinion. Fabletics has actually been really awesome for a lot of the stuff that I like to wear that's comfortable and breathable. Um,
Okay.
but I do a lot of times I'll wear sleeves, or like I have a thin hoodie that I'll wear. It's like really, really lightweight. To where
Hmm.
I'm not gonna burn up. But yeah, that the diva part of that outdoorsy is that I hate all bugs. All of them.
Okay.
I'm
Okay. All
definitely
right.
I don't
I
like
respect
bugs. I
that.
don't like being bitten. So yeah, I'm all about the deep and the off and whatever I gotta do to to stay healthy and to stay safe. I'm an asthmatic as well. So me getting any type of illness is always complicated because
Hmm. Hmm.
anything additional can always kind of set off
Right.
any allergic reaction. I'm at risk to set off an asthma attack with it because it's very allergy driven. So yeah,
Okay.
girl, get you some good high quality insect repellent and make it happen.
I will do that. I will do that. I'd like to equate that feeling that I have had in the mountains to the runner's high. And I don't know if you're a runner, but the runner's high is a real thing. And or at least I get to a point in my running where the entire world disappears. The trail disappears. The pavement disappears. I don't hear my heart racing. I don't hear myself breathing anymore. And I enter this place of calm and peace where whatever is troubling me or whatever I have questions about, those answers come to me during that time. And so I wasn't running during, when I was in the woods, but it was very similar to that same type of that space again where, you're there, but you're not there. It's like
Hmm.
you've been emotionally moved to some other plane of existence or something. And it just sounds kind of woo woo, but it's the truth. It really is the truth.
I absolutely relate. I'm not a
Hmm.
runner. I'm one of the laziest people you'll ever meet. I'll walk
I don't
briskly,
think that's
but I
true.
don't like to run. Like running is not my friend. But
That
I
doesn't make you lazy.
oh no, I haven't tried it. It is. I admit my faults, and it
Wait,
is.
wait, you're a hiker and you think of yourself as lazy? I don't think that goes together.
I know, right? It's such, but you tell me run, and I'm completely tuned out. Like, nope, not doing that. But I had not heard that term, runner's high. That's really interesting. But I do get that feeling when I
Yes.
go on like a nature walk
Mhm.
or a hike or something like that. And the hipster term is forest bathing. And I do
Wait, I'm sorry. What did you say? Forest bathing?
forest bathing. That's what they call it. It has it has a name. It's a thing. It's a real thing.
Okay.
So
Okay.
which is, it's what we do. You go into, nature, preferably a forest of some kind, and you just kind of be, and like exactly what we do. You let your thoughts kind of go away. You meditate if that's
Mhm.
what you do or
Mhm.
whatever. I
Mhm.
call it my God time. And what you say about the answers coming to me, that's exactly what
Mhm.
happens.
Mhm.
When I'm out there. So I just love sharing that with somebody and hearing you say that. So I hope that you'll do more of that. Do more of that intention to get some more nature in your life. It really is healing. So
I believe you. I can see that that's true. And luckily, we have an REI store that just opened in Birmingham. I think I was actually out of town on a trip when it opened, but it is on my list to visit in November so I can get some really good hiking boots.
awesome. We're getting one here too. We don't have one yet.
Woohoo!
I ordered my hiking boots online, but they're heavy, and so I don't like to wear them. I usually wear
Mhm.
my other. They're not boots, but they're slingbacks. They're like a sandal had a baby with a tennis shoe, kind of, sort of. But I wear socks, depending on, unless I plan to be in the water. So they can get wet or not, which is why I
Okay.
got them. Because again, I like water. So if there's like a river or a waterfall or something, I can, go hopping on the rocks through, then I will. And
Yes.
they're really good for that. But I do
Yes.
sometimes, I just wear them on a normal trail and I wear them with socks. So, um,
Okay. You're going to have to send me a link to that so I can investigate those also.
will do. So now, what inspires you to live this beautiful, adventurous life that you've carved out for yourself?
I guess the main thing that inspires me is the fact that I am actually still alive. Um, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, like I said, I was young. I had two young children, and no doctors believed that I had breast cancer. I have maybe a family history of breast cancer on my mother's side. Her mom died when she was really young. She was a poor black woman in Alabama. There was no health care. Nobody really knows what she died from. And even if she had died from breast cancer, not only could you not say the word breast, no, no one, the word cancer wasn't really known. So one night in October, I had always done a monthly self-examination, and life had gotten busy and I had not done it, and I was up late at night, and there was a television show on about this woman in Australia who had breast cancer. It was kismet. It really was. And I was like, oh goodness, I have not done my exam. And so I stopped everything I was doing right then, and I did my breast exam, and I found a lump that was not there 10 months previously when I had my first mammogram. So I called my gynecologist and said, hey, I got this lump in my breast, and I want somebody I need to know what to do next. And she said, oh, you're too young for this. It's only been a couple of years since you stopped breastfeeding, and so it's probably going to be fine. And I said, so again, I have a lump in my breast, and I need to talk to somebody about that. So if it's not you, then I'm going to go to the next person. And so she was like, oh, well, come in, and we're going to give you I think it was a sonogram I had. So had a sonogram, and they said it was a fibroadenoma. It was nothing. And I said, so if it's not nothing, then it's not supposed to be there. I need a list of surgeons because I'm going to have them take it out. So my gyno kind of poo-pooed me, and it's like, it's not you're overreacting. And I was like, okay, give me that list of surgeons. I'll just find a list myself. So I investigated the surgeons and found the guy that I wanted, but he was going to be out of the country. And so I was, going to Dr. B when Dr. A had a last minute cancellation. I went to see him, and I said, here are my records. I got this lump. And he said, well, I think it's a fibroadenoma. You don't really have a history. You're really young. You've got this kind of young baby. And I said, okay, So I have this lump in my breast, and it is not supposed to be there. And I've chosen you to be my surgeon. And in the morning, I need you to take this out. And he says, really? And I said, yes. I said, you're the person I have chosen to do this. I need to meet you in the morning, and I need you to take this out because I'm telling you it's not supposed to be there. And so he was like, you're kind of bossy for somebody that I just met. And I said, okay, so what time do you want me to be here? And so he said, well, I could just do a needle biopsy. And I said, no, it needs to come out. And he said, well, let me talk to my nurse and my secretary, and let's see what we can make happen. So he comes back and he says, all right, we're going to see you in the morning. He said, you're going to owe me a big cup of coffee because I'm going to have to get up early unexpectedly to do this. And I said, I can do that. Tell me what kind of coffee you want, and I will give it to you. So meet him that morning. We go in. I have the biopsy, and like the clock is just ticking. I'm waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for the results, and I'm still waiting. And so my surgeon finally comes in, and you could not tell anything about his face, but he sat down and he put his hand on my knee, and I knew then that he was going to tell me I had breast cancer. And he said, Mia, I cannot believe I'm telling you this, but you have breast cancer. And I said, okay, I knew it. The next thing I need you to do is to schedule my mastectomy. And he said, you're too young for a mastectomy. We don't recommend it. And I said, you're going to do what I tell you to do because you're my doctor. So I had the mastectomy, and I actually had a twin tumor underneath the original tumor that didn't show up anywhere. And if I hadn't had that mastectomy, then I would have died. So I feel that I have beat the odds over and over and over again. Life, tried to crush me and grind me into the ground, and it was hard. It was hard to decide every day to survive. It was hard to decide every day to live. And I became a single parent, and it was tiring. And, children, they're like, oh my God, it was just hard. And the fact that today I am still alive against every odd makes me want to live. It makes me want to do the things that I did not think I'd live to do. And again, I don't want a big house. I stopped buying clothes. I stopped buying stuff because I didn't need it. I felt like, I can either buy a new pair of shoes, or that money could be used to pay like a hopper to go between cities someplace. And that is more important to me to do that. I gave my life. I lived for my kids for such a long time because I had to live for them. And I don't have to live for them anymore. I have the opportunity to live for myself. And that is what I want to do. I want to travel. I want to have new experiences. I want to meet people who are completely unlike me. I want my sphere of friends to look like a rainbow, and to say, I want somebody in Ireland to say, oh yeah, I know Mia. That's my friend. She lives in Birmingham. Or, I think she lives in Birmingham. Who knows where she is right now. I want to be able to say, oh yeah, my friend Kate in London, and that it's not just, we have a real friendship. Like we have a real connection because I have taken the time in my life to go and meet them, and we bonded, and we've developed a relationship. That's more important to me than any things are. And that is the thing that drives me. The thing that I look forward to all of the time is where I'm going to go and how I'm going to get there. And then I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to have to do to get there? Let's start setting up all of these searches, and, when can I take off work, and how am I going to manage my mom? And, I'm trying to always put things in place so I can go and have the experience that I did not think I'd live to have.
Mia, that your testimony is so powerful. I'm sitting here trying to not cry. I'm blown away to hear you tell this firsthand. And I think one thing you said that's so key that I want people to really hone in on is you took control of your life. Damn what the doctor said. You were your own advocate. And I think that is so key and so important for people in general, but in
Yes,
particular for Black women,
yes.
because it is statistically proven that, the way we are treated in
Mhm.
healthcare settings is not on par with the way other patients of other demographics are treated. And we are the
It's
first
true.
ones to not be believed about
Right.
things going on with our body. So I commend you so much for doing that, and that you have the wherewithal to do that at a young age. But I just wanted to point that out for our listeners. For anybody listening, don't let anybody tell you or try to convince you that how you feel is not what it is, because it's just so much better that they check it, instead of waiting and seeing you ignoring your body. So kudos to you for that, and thank you so much for really sharing your personal journey with us like that,
Sure.
because
I just also want to say, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I'm sure there's other listeners out there who really needed to hear that. I needed to hear that. So thank you.
Right. I wanted to say, women, we need to know our bodies, like really know our bodies and listen to our bodies. And healthcare professionals, they work for us. It is not the other way around. So if you have a doctor who is not listening to you and is not acknowledging what you're saying and respecting you, you need to fire that person. You need to get another doctor.
Absolutely. And so as we close out, can you leave our listeners with just one piece of advice based on what you have learned along this journey?
Yes. My hashtag is discover yourself through travel. And that is true. You will find out so much about yourself when you step out of your comfort zone and you drop into a place that's completely unfamiliar. You will discover that you are strong, you are smart, you are capable, you are beautiful, and you are everything you ever thought and hoped you would be. And no one can ever diminish you.
Words to live by. So y'all take that in. Thank you so much, Mia. Like I just love you. Like we need a meetup. Like we need an in
We
person
do.
something to happen.
Absolutely. We're going to make that happen, of course.
We do. I have to be intentional about that, but I do. I just felt really connected to you today. So thank you. I'm so glad you heeded my call when I was looking to highlight and spotlight and celebrate women who are breast cancer survivors this month. Y'all, Mia is Mia Adventura. She's on Instagram, Facebook, all the other normal social medias. Her website is miaadventura.com, and she is revamping, but I'll be sure to let you guys know when it's up. Is it up now? If they go, is there content there? Just not your new
Yes,
stuff yet, right?
yes,
Okay. So yeah,
exactly.
y'all go visit Mia Adventura, see the adventures that she has there, and subscribe, and then that way you'll know when she has released that new content for us, because I need to hear all about the Black American West Museum. I'm totally here for that. Funny enough, Tyler Perry was on Ellen, and he
Hmm.
has property now in Wyoming, I believe, and I didn't know that. So he gets his
Really?
cowboy on. Yes, girl, he has like a lot of land out there. Built a house. He had his cowboy hat on and his jeans, and Ellen asked him, what was the strangest thing he had seen since living in Wyoming, and he said,
Hmm.
another Black person. And I screamed because the truth of that
Yes,
statement.
yes, yes. We are often the only people of color where we travel. That happens all of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But that's
It
okay
does.
because we're out there.
We're out there and we'll continue to be out there. And the more you continue to put your face out there and my face is out there and tons of all the other people, the more it'll be seen. And we see the difference even in our kids and the way they view travel
Mhm.
and see it. They
Mhm.
don't see it, as this anomaly. It's an expected thing. So again, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mia. Um, and thank you so much, adventurers, for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have additional questions for Mia, you can send an email to podcast@outdoorsydiva.com, and I will have her socials and a link to her website in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, make sure you subscribe to the Outdoorsy Diva podcast. Be sure to check out Miss Adventures of an Outdoorsy Diva blog on outdoorsydiva.com. You can also keep up with me and my adventures, so check out all of my social channels. Find Outdoorsy Diva on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest.